Out of Hollywood tonight, disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein has been expelled officially from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, the prestigious group that awards the Oscars. Now, this decision comes after at least 4 women accused Weinstein of rape, and even more, including big-name actresses like Angelina Jolie and Gwyneth Paltrow, claim Weinstein did everything from sexually harass to sexually assault them. He denies the allegations. His attorney says Weinstein believes all of the encounters were consensual. And still, we're understanding rehab is the next stop for Weinstein. Before leaving town, he told paparazzi he wanted a second chance.
Thank you.
Guys, I'm not doing okay.
You're not?
I'm trying. I gotta get help, guys. You know what? We all make mistakes. Second chance, I hope. Okay?
No problem.
Thanks, guys. And you know what? I've always been loyal to you guys. Awesome. Not like those that treat you like I've been a good guy.
Let's bring in CNN senior media correspondent and host of Reliable Sources, Brian Stelter, and writer of the Washington Post's Right Turn blog, Jennifer Rubin. Jennifer also spent 2 decades practicing labor and employment law in Hollywood. Brian, you first. The Academy still counts Roman Polanski and Bill Cosby, 2 men accused of rape, of sexual assault, as members of their group. Why is Harvey Weinstein different?
Because the times are different, thankfully, than they were decades ago or even a few years ago. I think we're seeing clearly a change in society, and Hollywood wants to recognize that. These Board of Governors members who made the decision today, they want to be on the right side of history. They don't want to appear as if they went easy on Harvey Weinstein. I think there was a public groundswell in this case that certainly didn't exist in the 1970s when Roman Polanski was convicted of rape, and even a few years ago with Bill Cosby. I think we are experiencing something different in America now when women and men are reacting in horror to these stories, and not just hearing it, expressing outrage and moving on, but wanting to see something done. So I think this is Hollywood today trying to get on the record and saying you are not welcome in this organization. Mm-hmm. And by the way, if Bill Cosby were still actively working, making movies or TV shows, I wonder if we'd see a similar reaction.
You got to wonder that. Jennifer, one of the most disturbing things that has come out of this scandal, though, is this idea that Weinstein's behavior wasn't even a secret. People knew about it. Women warned other women to stay away from him. As a former labor and employment lawyer, what can Hollywood do to make sure these types of allegations are actually reported, not just whispered about?
Well, this is an endemic problem in Hollywood. It's a problem in any industry in which men have a disproportionate amount of the power. So there are some things that they could do. Their legal counsel won't tell them to do that because their job is to remove liability, make it safer for them. But frankly, I think it's time that people at the very top of the food chain, that talking about the CEOs of these major companies, take responsibility. So they have to be alerted when there's a serious allegation of sexual harassment or sexual assault. They should also ban the use of these non-disclosure agreements, which essentially shut women up. And that's why they can't very often communicate after they've been employed as to what has gone on in the workplace. So I think those things are 2 concrete things. And third of all, I think it's time for Hollywood to stop pretending that they're so special and they need a more relaxed atmosphere and they need ambience. We could use a little less ambience, and they should have meetings in corporate offices. They should ban these hotel get-togethers. They should start behaving like corporate America, because frankly they are corporate America. Most of these are publicly traded companies.
You're referring to that casting couch culture some have described. In fact, that's how actresses Jane Fonda and Emma Thompson have talked about it as they've spoken out this week. Let's listen.
It has happened to me. It has. I only met Harvey when I was old, and Harvey goes for young because that's more vulnerable, you know, but it's very, very common.
I spent my 20s trying to get old men's tongues out of my mouth, you know, because they were just thought, well, she's up for it.
Brian, don't you think it's it's interesting that we're hearing from so many women in Hollywood. I mean, where are the guys? Where's the outrage among men?
There's been some interviews by George Clooney, by a number of other A-list Hollywood actors expressing shock and horror what was going on with Harvey Weinstein. But I think you're making a very fair point that this is not something, sexual harassment and assault is not an issue among women, just with women. It is something involving men as well as women. And to the extent that there needs to be more progress in this country, and there does, men have to speak up right alongside women to make it happen. I think we could say that in the political sphere, we could say that in the Hollywood sphere, we could say that in corporate America writ large, that it is still, take corporate America, take the Fortune 500 companies, still dominated by men in the CEO suites. It is those leaders who are going to continue to make this progress that we're seeing in this country involving sexual harassment.
Because it does seem that women are treated and viewed differently. I mean, that's what this sort of a scandal really exposes.
It speaks to male entitlement, and I'm glad in a way the only positive of this is that it's getting people talking about why Harvey Weinstein felt he was so entitled to do whatever he wanted in these meetings with women.
Jennifer, I talked to attorney Gloria Allred earlier, and she is representing, we now know, a number of the women who are accusing Weinstein. She told me she plans to meet with the Weinstein Company to discuss justice for these victims, and yet she also says that the statute of limitations has expired in some of these cases. So what could the company do to make this right, to give justice to these victims?
Well, it's, that's a very good question, because some of these women dropped out of Hollywood completely. Some of them tell very poignant stories that they gave up their dreams. So for them, I'm not sure what would be fair restitution. I think she is testing whether these people who have now inherited this company with Weinstein's name still attached to it, although they're trying to come up with a different name for obvious reasons, what they plan on doing to make it right. Do they plan on issuing public apologies? Do they plan on taking internal steps? Do they plan on being trendsetters now in Hollywood? And I would add something about the men. You know, his brother gave a rather pathetic interview with Hollywood Reporter recently, his brother Bob Weinstein, who's been in business with him forever. And he talks about how abusive he was to everyone, to men. He assaulted his own brother at one point, and even he didn't do anything. And I think there is this toleration, both men and women, that powerful people in Hollywood play by different rules. And it's not until men and women start blowing the whistle and saying no that something is going to happen. One of the things I'm disturbed about, frankly, is that there are a lot of powerful women who now could have stopped things. Now Gwyneth Paltrow is a very important person in Hollywood. So her remaining secret all these years, remaining quiet all these years, has impacted the lives of younger women.
Brian, do you have to be somebody famous to be able to get believed?
Being famous helped a lot with this New York Times investigation last week. Ashley Judd's name in that story made a difference. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it didn't. Having names of famous actresses who said they have been harassed by Weinstein made the story land in a way that I don't know if it would have otherwise.
And Jennifer, real quick, just, you know, the whole situation regarding the president a year ago when he was candidate and that Access Hollywood tape came out has now been brought up again in light of this Harvey Weinstein scandal. And it begs the question, you know, after that happened and he went on to become president of the United States, did that make people fear coming forward and saying something for fear of not being believed? Or do these stories of Weinstein, we saw Bill O'Reilly, we saw Roger Ailes also get taken down by accusations of sexual misconduct, prove the opposite?
Well, you're right. We did elect someone who apparently harassed women, not only in the Access Hollywood tape out of his own mouth, but the complaints of other women. And I think that's an answer that we're going to have to see over time. Perhaps something good can come of it, as Brian said. Perhaps women will feel more emboldened to come forward now. I certainly hope so, because we've had a long, torrid past of this.
I think liberal Hollywood partly wanted to kick him out today because Donald Trump is in the White House. I think there are reverberations of the Access Hollywood tape that we're still seeing in America a year later.
All right, Brian Stelter, Jennifer Rubin, thank you both for the discussion. Again, more than a dozen women have accused Weinstein of